South Africa is accelerating into an AI-driven future, but major questions remain about our readiness. Can our digital infrastructure withstand growing cyber threats? How do we build resilient networks in the face of energy instability and climate pressures? And more importantly, how do we ensure that AI and next-generation technology uplift all Africans rather than deepen inequality? Telkom's Group Executive for Innovation and Transformation, Dr. Mmaki, Jantjies, joins us now to unpack this further. Dr. Jantjies, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. South Africa is largely an AI-consuming country and at the tail end of the global trend on that, while I add it. We're not really the sort of country where massive quantum computing is happening. We don't have the energy resources to be able to have the large-scale industrial data storage farms that what would be required to support an AI revolution in South Africa. How do we go from being AI consumers to being part of those who are driving forward machine learning technology and its applicability?
Good evening, Oliver, and good evening to your viewers, and thank you so much for having me. I think those are very fundamental questions, and these are at the backdrop of the conference that we held last week, which is the SATNEC conference. Essentially, this is a forum that brings together key ICT players from across the countries. It's anchored on ensuring that we create a platform for academic institutions, for industry players, for government players, as well as society, which enables us to look at the research that happens in universities as well as in industry and see how we progress. Fundamental to this conference were the key aspects that you were talking about. The conference focused on artificial intelligence and the most important aspect of it, which is sustainability. The key topics and themes that were coming out from the conference is: what are the fundamentals that we need to be looking at as a country? First fundamental is basic infrastructure. We had key telecommunications, OEMs, as well as key players within the IT sector, which talk to the importance of infrastructure, that infrastructure such as telecommunications, such as data centers, that is needed to be able to power the AI revolution. We also talk to the fundamentals of skills. Now, skills are quite important for us as an organization, as Telkom, but most importantly, as the sector for ICT. Many years back, 28 years, in fact, we established what is called the Telkom Research Centers of Excellence that are scattered around 15 universities in South Africa. Here, students on master's and PhD students focus on key topical areas such as artificial intelligence. The skills pipeline that feeds the ICT sector of South Africa is a key critical feature of ensuring that we have capability in artificial intelligence across the data sciences field. Quite important that came out was also the aspect of governance, and that's why having government in the room was also quite important with the ministerial representation that we had, because aspects such as ethics and governance are critical, that we ensure that while we innovate on aspects such as the large language learning models that are looking at South African languages and translation, we think carefully about innovating ethically and leverage the resources of the country, such as electricity, thinking about the capability that we have as a country. So I think all the aspects that you're talking to speak to the fundamental of this conference. We run it every year, which anchors the research that students and academics do in university, working very closely with industry that ensures that we have a mission-critical skills pipeline.
I'm glad you run this conference annually, because some tough questions we need to come and ask next year, and I'll pose some of them to you now. We have a severe underfunding and underinvestment into artificial intelligence and its supporting vertical in South Africa. You would know that we don't put much money into quantum computing. Telkom is a leading telecommunications company in South Africa. It would have one of the deepest pockets to be able to do so, but even then you're quite limited in what you're able to do for quantum computing without taking away from your bottom line too much, because you're still trying to expand a fiber network across the country to make sure that we have the basic right, which is basic connectivity. How do we get the sort of investment, and I'm talking here about grant funding as well as research funding, because R&D is critically important, and I'm glad you're involved in that, but also development funding to ensure that we catch up in the AI race globally?
Research funding that looks at the fundamental research funding that powers technologies such as AI, such as quantum computing, can only be achieved through a collective. For us, it's been quite important to coordinate industry to fund and channel funding that goes into funding research that goes into these areas, specifically looking at South Africa, that we're not just consumers, but we're enablers, but we are creators ourselves. If I look at one of the research projects that students were presenting there, was looking at isiXhosa and how we enable translation from English to isiXhosa. And a lot of research that we've been funding as an organization has been going into enabling funding around translation in artificial intelligence. And this, as a collective, is important for us. We've continued to partner with the likes of the National Research Foundation to co-fund programs that are looking at creating this pipeline, both from a research perspective that is localizing artificial intelligence and quantum computing, but also from a skills perspective. We also did an impact study when we celebrated our 25 years of the conference. And this public-private partnership across the sector has enabled us to create about 3,200 graduates who are master's and PhD students who now actually lead across the ICT sector. So this is quite important. The fundamental R&D funding is important for us as a sector, as a country.
Yeah, well, I also want to talk to you about early stage seed funding for those who are developing the applications that are needed in the value chain. But unfortunately, we're out of time. Dr. Jantjies, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Dr. Jantjies is the Group Executive for Innovation at Telkom.